The man who forgot how to feel. Jasper Whitmore stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse office, watching the city below move like tiny ants. At 42, he had built Whitmore Industries from a garage startup into a technology empire worth billions. Forbes called him a genius. Business Week named him the most ruthless CEO in America. His employees whispered a different name behind closed doors, the Ice King. He wore his reputation like armor. Every meeting was calculated. Every word measured. Every relationship temporary. His steel-gray eyes rarely showed emotion, and his handshake felt like a business transaction rather than a human greeting. This was not always who he was. Years ago, a trusted partner had stolen millions and nearly destroyed everything Jasper had worked for. The betrayal taught him a brutal lesson: trust no one. His mansion in the hills reflected his personality. Modern, spotless, and completely empty of warmth. The marble floors gleamed so perfectly you could see your reflection. The furniture looked expensive but uncomfortable. Not a single photograph hung on the walls. It was a house, not a home. The problem was keeping staff. Housekeepers arrived full of hope and left within days. Some quit because of his demanding standards. Others simply could not bear the silence that filled every room like thick fog. Last week, his seventh housekeeper in 3 months had walked out mid-shift, leaving her apron on the kitchen counter with a note that read, "I cannot work in a museum." Enter Delilah Brooks. The doorbell rang at exactly 9 in the morning. Jasper opened it to find a woman with kind brown eyes, curly black hair pulled into a messy bun, and a smile that seemed to light up the doorway. She wore a simple blue dress and carried a worn leather bag over her shoulder. "Good morning. I'm Delilah Brooks. I'm here about the housekeeper position," she said with confidence that surprised him. Jasper stepped aside without a word, gesturing for her to enter. She walked in, looking around with genuine interest rather than intimidation. Most applicants seemed nervous in his presence. This woman acted like she was visiting an old friend. "You have read the requirements?" Jasper asked, his voice flat and professional. "Oh yes. High standards, no personal questions, silence preferred, and previous housekeepers have called this place the Fortress of Solitude," Delilah said with a playful smile. "I also heard you once timed someone cleaning a bathroom to see if they met efficiency standards." Jasper's eyebrow lifted slightly. "I do not recall that being in the job posting." It was not. "But this town talks, Mr. Whitmore. They say working for you is like climbing Mount Everest in flip-flops. Challenging but not impossible." For the first time in months, Jasper felt the corner of his mouth twitch. Not quite a smile, but close. "And you believe you can handle this challenge?" "I believe challenges are just opportunities wearing uncomfortable shoes," Delilah replied. "Besides, I have cleaned hotel rooms during spring break, cared for elderly patients who threw soup at me, and raised a daughter on my own. Your silent mansion does not scare me." Jasper studied her for a long moment. Something about her felt different. Genuine. "You have 1 week to prove yourself. Most do not last 3 days. "Then I will aim for 8, she said, extending her hand. He shook it, surprised by the warmth of her palm. When she left to get her supplies from the car, Jasper stood alone in his empty foyer, wondering if he had just made a mistake or the best decision in years. The test of character. 3 days passed. Delilah moved through the mansion like a spring breeze, humming softly as she worked. She opened curtains Jasper had kept closed for years. She placed fresh flowers in vases he forgot he owned. She even left little notes on the refrigerator: "Drink water. Your body needs it more than coffee." Jasper watched her from a distance, analyzing her every move. She was efficient but not robotic. Cheerful but not fake. And most surprisingly, she talked to objects as if they had feelings. "Good morning, Mr. Coffee Maker. Let us make something wonderful today," she would say. Or, poor couch, you look so stiff. Someone needs to sit on you more often. It drove him crazy and fascinated him at the same time. On the fourth day, Jasper decided to conduct a test. He had done this with every housekeeper before her, and all had failed. He withdrew several $1,000s from his safe and placed the bills on his desk in his study. Some he left in neat stacks. Others he scattered on the floor as if they had fallen by accident. Then he reclined in his leather chair, closed his eyes, and pretended to sleep. He heard her footsteps approach. The soft knock on the door. "Mr. Whitmore? I am just going to tidy up in here." He mumbled, keeping his eyes closed and his breathing steady. The door opened. He heard the gentle roll of her cleaning cart. The sound of dusting. Then silence. He knew she had seen the money. Every housekeeper before had either taken some, which led to immediate firing, or nervously woken him to point it out, which told him they were too timid for the job. Delilah did neither. He heard a soft chuckle. Then the rustle of paper. Curiosity almost made him open his eyes, but he forced himself to remain still. Minutes passed. Finally, she finished cleaning and quietly left the room. When Jasper opened his eyes, he stared in disbelief. The money was still there, but arranged in the shape of a smiley face on his desk. Next to it sat a yellow sticky note with neat handwriting: "Money smiles better when it is organized. Also, you should smile more too. It is good for your health." Jasper picked up the note, reading it 3 times. Then he did something he had not done in his own home for years. He laughed. It started as a quiet chuckle but grew into genuine laughter that echoed through the empty study. He carefully folded the note and placed it in his desk drawer, next to an old photograph of his mother. That evening, instead of working late as usual, he found himself looking forward to the next morning. Not because of business meetings or conference calls, but because he wanted to see what Delilah would do next. Small changes, big impact. The next morning, Jasper woke to the smell of fresh bread. He came downstairs to find the kitchen transformed. Sunlight poured through windows he typically kept shuttered. A vase of wildflowers sat on the counter. And there was Delilah, pulling golden rolls from the oven while humming a tune he did not recognize. "I hope you do not mind," she said, noticing him in the doorway. "I baked extra bread. Thought you might like some with breakfast." "I usually skip breakfast," Jasper said automatically. "I know. Your assistant told me. But skipping breakfast is like starting your car without oil. Eventually, something breaks down." She placed a warm roll on a plate with butter and honey. "Just try one. If you hate it, I will never bake again." Jasper sat at his own kitchen table, something he rarely did, and took a bite. The bread was soft, slightly sweet, and melted in his mouth. "This is acceptable," he said, which in his language meant it was delicious. "Acceptable," Delilah repeated with mock offense. "Sir, my grandmother's recipe is not just acceptable. It is magic in bread form." Despite himself, Jasper smiled. "Fine. It is very good." "Better," she said, pouring him fresh orange juice. "Now eat. You have a big day ahead, and you cannot conquer the world on an empty stomach." As Jasper ate, he realized something strange. For the first time in years, his house did not feel like a cold museum. It felt like a place where someone actually lived. And even stranger, he did not mind Delilah's presence. In fact, he found himself hoping she would stay beyond the trial week. He cleared his throat. "You have passed your trial period. The position is yours if you want it." Delilah's face lit up with genuine joy. "Really? I only had 4 days." 4 days was enough, Jasper said, standing and brushing crumbs from his suit. "Do not be late." As he walked to his car, he heard her call out from the doorway. "Mr. Whitmore." You forgot to frown. Your face almost looked happy just now. Jasper paused, then called back without turning around. Do not push your luck, Miss Brooks. But he was smiling as he said it. And for Jasper Whitmore, that was nothing short of a miracle. A house learns to breathe. 2 weeks passed like pages turning in a book Jasper did not know he was reading. The mansion transformed in ways that had nothing to do with cleaning. Yes, the floors still gleamed and the windows sparkled, but something deeper had shifted. The air itself felt lighter. Delilah had a ritual. Every morning, she arrived 15 minutes early, not to work, but to open every curtain in the house. Sunlight is free therapy, she explained when Jasper questioned this habit. Your house was suffering from vitamin D deficiency. She also had a strange practice of leaving small notes throughout the mansion. Jasper found them everywhere. On the bathroom mirror, you are doing better than you think. Taped to his laptop, remember to blink. Your eyes need brakes too. Even on his car steering wheel, drive safely. The world needs more people who keep their promises. At first, he collected these notes to throw them away. Instead, he found himself reading each one multiple times before tucking them into his desk drawer, which was becoming quite full. The real change happened during meals. Jasper had spent years eating alone, usually while reviewing contracts or answering emails. But Delilah had other ideas. She began cooking lunches that smelled so incredible that Jasper found excuses to come home midday. You cannot possibly eat that salad while standing at the counter, she scolded one afternoon. Sit. Eat like a human being, not a robot. I have a conference call in 20 minutes, Jasper protested. Then you have 19 minutes to enjoy this soup, Delilah replied, placing a steaming bowl in front of him. Your phone will wait. Your stomach will not. Reluctantly, Jasper sat. The soup was rich with vegetables and herbs he could not name. Where did you learn to cook like this? My grandmother, Delilah said, sitting across from him with her own bowl. She always said food tastes better when you put love in it instead of just salt. Love is not an ingredient, Jasper said, though his tone was softer than usual. Maybe not in your world, Delilah replied with a knowing smile. But in mine, it is the most important one. They ate in comfortable silence, and Jasper made his conference call with 2 minutes to spare. But for the first time, he did not feel rushed. He felt nourished in a way that had nothing to do with the soup. The day everything changed. Saturday arrived with clear skies and a gentle breeze. Jasper was working in his study when he heard unfamiliar laughter. Child's laughter. He walked to the window and saw Delilah in the garden with a small girl who had the same warm brown eyes and bright smile. He went downstairs, curiosity overriding his usual desire for solitude. Mr. Whitmore, Delilah said, looking slightly nervous. I am so sorry. My usual babysitter got sick, and I could not find anyone else. This is my daughter, Ruby. I promise she will not be any trouble. The little girl looked up at him with complete fearlessness. Hello, Mr. Whitmore. Mama says you live in a castle. But I think castles have more colors. Yours is very gray. Jasper blinked, unsure how to respond to such honest observation from a 7-year-old. It is not a castle. It is a house. A really big house, Ruby corrected. Do you have a dragon? No. That is sad. Every big house should have a dragon. Or at least a dog. Delilah touched her daughter's shoulder gently. Ruby, go sit on that bench and draw in your notebook. Remember what we talked about. Quiet and polite. Yes, Mama. Ruby skipped away, her purple backpack bouncing. I can take her home if this is a problem, Delilah offered quickly. I understand if it is. Jasper watched the child settle onto the garden bench, pulling out crayons and paper. Something in his chest tightened, though he could not name the feeling. She can stay. Just keep her away from the East Wing. The antiques there are valuable. Relief washed over Delilah's face. Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. You will not even know she is here. But he did know. Throughout the day, he heard Ruby's soft singing from the garden. He saw her chasing butterflies. And once, when he passed the window, he caught her talking to a flower. You are very pretty, but you look thirsty. I will ask Mama to bring you water. It reminded him of how Delilah talked to objects, and he realized the apple had not fallen far from the tree. The broken heirloom. Late afternoon brought disaster. Jasper was reviewing financial reports when he heard a crash, followed by a child's gasp and then crying. He rushed toward the sound, his heart pounding with something that felt uncomfortably like panic. In the living room, he found Ruby standing frozen, tears streaming down her face. At her feet lay the shattered remains of a crystal vase, an heirloom that had belonged to his mother. It was one of the few things he had kept from his childhood home, one of the only objects that held genuine sentimental value. Delilah ran in from the kitchen, her face going pale when she saw the destruction. Ruby. What happened? I just wanted to smell the flowers, Ruby sobbed. I did not mean to knock it over. I am sorry, I am so sorry. Jasper stood there, staring at the broken pieces. His first instinct was anger. His second was to demand they leave immediately. But then he looked at Ruby's terrified face, at Delilah's anguished expression, and something unexpected happened. He remembered being young, remembered breaking his father's watch, remembered the fear and shame. He took a slow breath and knelt down to Ruby's level. Are you hurt? Ruby shook her head, hiccuping through tears. No, but your pretty vase is broken. And it looked really old and really special. It was, Jasper said quietly. My mother gave it to me. Fresh tears spilled down Ruby's cheeks. I ruined it. I ruin everything. No, Jasper said firmly, surprising himself. You made a mistake. That is different from ruining things. He began carefully picking up the larger pieces. Ruby immediately dropped to her knees to help, but Delilah stopped her. Sweetie, you will cut yourself. I want to fix it, Ruby insisted. Please, Mama. I have to fix it. Jasper looked at the broken crystal, then at the child's desperate face. An idea formed, one that surprised him. Ruby, can you draw? She nodded, wiping her nose. Yes. I draw lots of things. Then draw me a picture of this vase. Draw it as beautiful as you remember it. Can you do that? Ruby's eyes widened. Really? You want me to draw it? Yes. And maybe you can draw what you think was inside it. Flowers, memories, whatever you imagine. The little girl's face transformed from devastation to hope. She ran to get her art supplies while Delilah stared at Jasper in disbelief. Mr. Whitmore, I will pay for a replacement, she said quietly. Even if it takes me years. You cannot replace it, Jasper said, still gathering pieces. It is one of a kind. But maybe that is the point. Maybe some things are not meant to stay perfect forever. Delilah's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I do not understand. Why are you not angry? Jasper paused, a shard of crystal catching the light in his palm. I spent years keeping everything in my life preserved and protected. This house, my routines, even my emotions. All perfectly maintained and utterly empty. He looked up at her. Your daughter did not ruin something precious. She reminded me that broken things can still have value. Art from ashes. 20 minutes later, Ruby returned with a drawing. It showed the vase, but not as it was. She had drawn it whole and filled with impossible flowers, rainbows, stars, and tiny hearts. Around it, she had drawn stick figures holding hands. One tall figure in a suit, one with curly hair, and one small girl. At the top, in careful letters, she had written, "The vase that held love." Jasper took the drawing, studying it carefully. Something in his throat felt tight. "This is remarkable." "Really?" Ruby asked hopefully. "You do not hate me?" "I could never hate someone with such imagination," Jasper said. "Would you let me keep this drawing?" Ruby nodded enthusiastically. "Yes. And maybe the broken vase pieces could be art too. My teacher says broken crayons still color." Jasper looked at the pile of crystal shards, then at Delilah, who was watching him with an expression he could not quite read. "Your teacher is very wise." That evening, after Delilah and Ruby left, Jasper did something he had not done in years. He called a local artist who specialized in glasswork and asked if broken crystal could be transformed into something new. The artist said yes, that she could create a beautiful mosaic or sculpture from the pieces. Jasper arranged for the shards to be delivered the next day. Then he took Ruby's drawing and, instead of filing it away, he placed it in a frame. He hung it in his study, right where the vase used to sit on a shelf. When he stepped back to look at it, he realized something profound. The vase had spent 20 years sitting untouched on a shelf, preserved but unseen, valuable but unloved. Now, through a child's eyes and hands, it had become something that made him smile. That night, lying in bed, Jasper thought about broken things. Broken vases. Broken trust. Broken hearts. He had spent so long avoiding breaking that he had forgotten how to heal. But maybe, just maybe, healing was possible. Maybe broken pieces could create something even more beautiful than before. He fell asleep thinking about a drawing of a vase filled with stars and a little girl who saw love where he had only seen loss, when the world takes notice. Monday morning arrived with storm clouds, both literal and figurative. Jasper was having coffee when his phone began buzzing with unusual frequency. Text messages, emails, and missed calls piled up faster than he could read them. Something was wrong. He opened the first email from his publicist. The subject line read, "Urgent, media situation." Attached was a link to a tabloid website. The headline made his blood run cold, "Billionaire's secret family?" Tech CEO Jasper Whitmore spotted with mystery woman and child. The photograph showed him, Delilah, and Ruby in his garden from Saturday. They were laughing, the three of them, looking for all the world like a family. The article speculated wildly about secret relationships, hidden children, and dramatic lifestyle changes. His phone rang. Trevor Walsh, his business advisor and longest-serving colleague. Jasper answered. "Have you seen the news?" Trevor's voice was clipped and professional, but underneath was clear concern. "I am looking at it now," Jasper replied, his jaw tight. "The board is asking questions. Investors are calling." "Jasper, who is this woman, and why was there a child at your house?" "You know how important image is right now, especially with the merger talks." "She is my housekeeper," Jasper said flatly. "The child is her daughter." It was one afternoon. "It does not matter what it was," Trevor said urgently. "It matters what it looks like. You need to issue a statement distancing yourself from this situation. Make it clear this was nothing more than a professional relationship that happened to be photographed at an unfortunate moment." Jasper looked at the photo again. Ruby was showing him her drawing. Delilah had her hand on her daughter's shoulder, smiling. And he was crouched down, actually smiling back. Not his usual tight, controlled expression, but a genuine smile. "No," Jasper said quietly. "No? Jasper, this is not negotiable. Your reputation is at stake." "I said no." His voice was firmer now. "I will not throw good people under the bus to protect an image that has kept me miserable for years." Trevor was silent for a moment. "You are not thinking clearly. This woman, this housekeeper, she has gotten into your head. You need to step back and see this situation for what it really is. And what is it really, Trevor? Jasper asked, his tone dangerous now. A liability. She is a liability. Jasper ended the call. He sat in silence, staring at his phone. Then he stood, grabbed his car keys, and drove to the address he had on file for Delilah Brooks. The truth comes out. Delilah lived in a modest apartment building across town. The paint was faded, and the hallway smelled like old carpet, but flowers hung in window boxes, and children's chalk drawings decorated the sidewalk outside. It was nothing like his world, and somehow, that made it more real. He knocked on apartment 4B. Delilah answered, her eyes red and swollen. She had been crying. "Mr. Whitmore," she said, surprise and shame mixing in her voice. "I am so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I understand if you want me to resign. May I come in?" Jasper asked gently. She stepped aside. The apartment was tiny but warm. Colorful blankets draped over a worn couch. Books stacked neatly on shelves made from painted crates. Children's artwork covered every wall. Ruby sat at a small table, coloring quietly, but her usual brightness was dimmed. "Ruby, go to your room for a few minutes, please," Delilah said softly. The little girl looked at Jasper with worried eyes. "Are you mad at my mama?" "No," Jasper said honestly. "I am not mad at anyone." Ruby left reluctantly, and Delilah gestured for Jasper to sit. He chose the couch, feeling completely out of place in his expensive suit surrounded by thrift store furniture and handmade decorations. "I saw the article," Delilah said, sitting across from him. "I have been getting calls all morning. Reporters asking questions, photographers outside. Ruby's school even called to make sure she was safe. This is exactly what I was afraid of." "What do you mean?" Jasper asked. Delilah wiped her eyes. "I knew from the start that our worlds were too different. I am a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. You are a billionaire who could buy this entire building without thinking twice. I never should have let myself believe we could be friends." "Friends," Jasper repeated, testing the word. "Is that what we are?" "I do not know what we are," Delilah admitted. "But I know what we cannot be. I cannot be the reason your reputation gets damaged. I cannot be responsible for hurting your business. And I cannot let Ruby grow up watching me make foolish choices." "Foolish choices," Jasper said slowly. "Like working hard to provide for your daughter? Like showing kindness to a man who forgot what kindness looked like? Like teaching me that broken things can still be beautiful?" Delilah looked up, tears streaming down her face. "Mr. Whitmore, please do not make this harder than it already is." Jasper leaned forward, his hands clasped together. "My entire life, I have made decisions based on logic, strategy, and protection. I built walls so high that no one could hurt me. And I was successful. Incredibly successful. But I was also completely alone." He paused, gathering courage he did not know he possessed. "Then you walked into my house with your terrible jokes and your sunshine attitude and your daughter who sees dragons where I only saw empty rooms. And for the first time in 20 years, I felt alive." "Jasper," Delilah whispered, using his first name for the first time. "I do not care what the tabloids say," he continued. "I do not care what the board thinks or what investors whisper at cocktail parties. I care that when I come home, someone has opened the curtains. I care that there are flowers on the counter and notes reminding me to drink water. I care that a little girl taught me more about healing in one afternoon than years of therapy ever could." "But your reputation," Delilah protested weakly. "My reputation is that I am cold, calculating, and incapable of human connection," Jasper said. "Maybe it is time for a new reputation. One where I am honest about who I want to be instead of who I thought I needed to be." Delilah covered her face with her hands, sobbing now. Jasper moved to sit beside her, not touching, just present. When she finally looked up, her eyes searched his face. "What are you saying?" she asked. "I am saying that I do not want you to quit. I am saying that I value you, not as an employee, but as someone who has given me something no amount of money could buy. You gave me my life back." Standing in the storm. The next morning, Jasper called a press conference. His publicist begged him to reconsider. Trevor threatened to resign. The board sent strongly worded emails. Jasper ignored them all. He stood before cameras and reporters, wearing his usual immaculate suit but with something different in his eyes. Something softer. "I am here to address the recent photographs and speculation," he began, his voice steady. "Yes, the woman in the photo is Delilah Brooks. She works for me. The child is her daughter, Ruby. And the article's suggestion that I have been living a secret life is partially correct." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Jasper continued. "I have been living a secret life, but not the kind you imagine. The secret is that for years, I have been empty. I built a successful company but lost myself in the process. I surrounded myself with wealth but forgot about richness. I had everything money could buy and nothing that actually mattered." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Delilah Brooks and her daughter reminded me what matters. Kindness. Laughter. Fresh bread on Sunday mornings. Drawings that turn broken things into art. They reminded me that success without humanity is just expensive loneliness." A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Whitmore, are you in a romantic relationship with Miss Brooks?" Jasper met the camera directly. "My relationship with Delilah is one of deep respect and gratitude. Whether it becomes something more is between us, not for public consumption. What I will say is this: any company, any investor, or any board member who has a problem with me choosing kindness over coldness can voice their concerns directly to me. I am done apologizing for being human." The press conference ended with chaos. Questions shouted. Cameras flashing. But Jasper walked away with his head high. That evening, his phone buzzed with a text from Delilah. "You did not have to do that." He replied, "Yes, I did. Come to work tomorrow. We have curtains to open." Her response came seconds later: "Ruby wants to know if she can bring her crayons to draw your dragon." Jasper smiled at his phone, alone in his study but not feeling lonely. "Tell her I look forward to seeing what color she chooses." 6 months later. The merger went through despite the controversy, or perhaps because of it. Turns out investors liked the idea of a CEO who seemed human. Employee satisfaction at Whitmore Industries increased dramatically when Jasper implemented flexible family policies and kindness training. The mansion was no longer silent. Music played during dinner. Laughter echoed down hallways. Ruby's drawings covered an entire wall that Jasper had designated as the gallery of important art. One evening, as the sun set over the hills, Jasper found Delilah on the terrace, looking at the ocean. "Thank you," he said, standing beside her. "For what?" she asked. "For not giving up on me when I had given up on myself." Delilah smiled, her hand finding his. "Thank you for proving that even ice kings can thaw." Ruby burst through the door, carrying a new drawing. "Look! I drew our family. See, there is you, Mama, and me. And I added a dragon because every family needs one." Jasper took the drawing, his throat tight with emotion. The dragon was purple with kind eyes. The 3 stick figures held hands beneath a rainbow. At the top, in Ruby's careful handwriting, "The family that fixed each other." He knelt down, meeting Ruby's eyes. "This might be your best work yet. Do you want to be in our family for real?" Ruby asked with the directness only children possess. Jasper looked at Delilah, who was biting her lip, waiting. Then he looked back at Ruby. "I would like that very much. If your mother agrees." She does, Ruby announced confidently. She told me so when we made wishes on stars. Delilah laughed through tears. Ruby. That was supposed to be secret. Secrets are for surprises, Mama. And this is a good surprise. Jasper stood and pulled Delilah close, Ruby wrapping her arms around both their legs. They stood together as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink, three people who had been broken in different ways, now healing together. The mansion had finally become a home. Not because of the expensive furniture or perfect architecture, but because it was filled with something money could never buy: love, laughter, and second chances. And somewhere in the study, a frame held a drawing of a vase that once broke but now held stars. A reminder that the most beautiful things often come from pieces we thought were beyond repair.